I.S.U.P.K 53rd Annual Lord Passover.
53rd Annual Lord's Passover is going to be held down here in Florida.
It's going down.
You're here tonight to get a chance to be righteous enough to be worthy of God coming to save you.
That's right.
It's going down. The Lord's 53rd Annual Passover.
When we say we no cowards, we stop that business. We no cowards up in here.
Book your hotels now at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites, the IHG Hotel, 301 Tucker Lane, Cocoa Beach, Florida, 32926.
Here's a lot of men down. You dealing with the men of war. We at war. I sided with the Lord.
Y'all see this?
Comes with all your dishes, pots, and sports knives.
I kind of like this. This is like an apartment and a hotel room. You know what I mean? Yeah. This here right here is about to be holy ground. This is going to be holy ground. All our beautiful, wonderful brothers and sisters from all over the world. You understand? We can boast that now. Brothers and sisters coming not only from every state, but from all over the world. I heard the numbers this year is ridiculous. We had to buy out the whole hotel.
Friday, April 15th at the Space Coast Convention Center.
My camp undefeated. You cannot debate. You just want the clout. We just want the grace. I'm just trying to get it.
This is going to be glorious.
We don't give a fuck, you can see it in our face. Got it out the mud, straight up out the base.
Baby, no listen to no fake news, them can't. Could hold it out and them never fake news. Notice I just be a bad bitch, I get forward from with you. But the one you have to be good girl, them lazy. She never did a features, I rate it. Never did a features, half naked. Me never did a piggy or ratings halfway, that's why me give her ratings. She never did a features, half naked. Never did a features, I rated. Me never did a piggy or ratings halfway, that's why me give her ratings. I know every girl I wife material. I know every girl forget the juice in my seed bag. I know every girl me trust to cook my food, nor boil my tea, not even put the milk in the cereal. Me like a catty when medieval. When we wash for cook for clean and no fuss. When she hear me get a new girl, I know that me mean when me say me fight me demons. Multiple wife legally, no illegal. Yeah, straight, me go crazy. I know every catty can be my first lady. I know every press plus body done baby plus Tatiana no fit in a no Mercedes. When me say oh luxury dolly fi nurse baby, a trouble when luxury dolly turn old lady. So big up every girl with no lazy. Your body big but why your mommy donate it. I rate it. Never did a fi dress half naked. Me never did a fi give her ratings halfway, that's why me give her ratings. She never did a fi dress half naked. Never did a fi dress I rated. Me never did a piggy or ratings halfway, that's why me give her ratings. She now wait pan money for reach her and donation. She make reach her man donation. 100 and run, but the race gal a tell her fi leave her man, but she stay strong. She know say them are no friends, them are haters. Them sleep with every man in the acre. Can't get nobody fi stay long and want the advice from relation. Baby, no listen to no fake news. Them can't keep a man cause them never stay true. Could do hold it out and them never pay dues. Never shut them out and them wicked and cruel, eh? Bag a man a rush but them just a get yours. Everything them have them did a fear blows. Instagram live them nude for the views. Baby that I know you though. Sure, I rate it. Never did a pictures half naked. Me never da piggy or ratings halfway, that's why me give her ratings. She never did a features half naked. Never did a features I rated. Me never did a piggy or ratings halfway, that's why me give her ratings. One wish. SHUPK. Oh, and West. Babylon is falling to rise no more again. Babylon is falling. Freedom is here, my friend, not just part of the nation. Yeah, our shine never come bring peace, him start of the vision. Now put your trust in the riches and wealth, guns are ammunition. But just the last statutes and commandments, we make the decision to keep them with precision. I just part of the nation. Daniel get a vision, him see the black Christ, it wasn't a white depiction. No allegiance to Rome nor its regions, come out them religion if you want be a free man. Cause the deacons them full of demons, same situation with Rasta with Islam. Only beacon of hope for your lean on is UPK and the General YAHANNA. Every fowl of the ear, every beast of the field, every creeping thing we creep on land, every mouth of the clear, loud and clear. Yeah, our shy Mashiach is a black man who have fear, let him hear. Time to prepare, spiritually separate from Babylon. We no weak, we no fear, we no tear. Bun Saddam, my bun Batty man are just part of the nation. Yeah, our shine never come bring peace in start of the vision. Now put your trust in the riches and wealth, guns are ammunition. I just the last statutes and commandments, we make the decision to keep them with precision. Just part of the nation, send evils and curses on the whole city and the beasts and all churches. America fall, them deserve it. Rome get defeat, history repeat, another first day. Hey, 400 years they work with, then desert with, then turn round and call we worthless. But now the COVID lurking, them hurting, and then the doctors and nurses. Hey, one day to a building of return after the long journey. No care much money you a earn if you still want Babylon burn. One day to a building of return after the long journey. No care much money you a earn. Hey, I just part of the mission. Yeah, our shine never come bring peace in start of the vision. No put your trust in the riches and wealth, guns are ammunition. I just the last statutes and commandments, we make the decision to keep them with precision. I just part of the mission.
Hey, Shalom, Israel. To all my brothers, I say Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai Brakatham. To all the sisters, Yahweh Shema Alatan Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And tonight we have the Brotherhood class, taught by me, Officer 50 Barak Yohala in Montreal. You know, and today's topic is multiculturalism is soon over. We're going to see that. We're going to start with an article. Let me break it down for you. With World War III coming in, every nation is going to gather with their own. It's going to be to each his own. Multiculturalism, interracial marriages, this is soon over. To each his own. So this is the reason why we shall gather together the nation of Israel to be protected and to be able to protect each other, right? Salak Asis Kala, Shalom, Yahweh Shemal Atah B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. Let me share my screen. We're going to get into this article. 1 second. Now, about a couple weeks ago, there was a young girl that was assaulted, I think around the east part of Montreal, right? Now, mind you, this girl was not a sister, but the men who assaulted her, Salaki, the men who assaulted her was an Elamite. Salaki, 1 second. Pull up this article. Salaki for the technical difficulties. So I was saying, the man who assaulted the young girl is an Elamite who most likely mistook her for a sister, right? For one of her daughters. He probably thought she was an Israelite, and he assaulted her in broad daylight. So we're gonna get into this article. He reads, Montreal police say 10-year-old girl beaten by man in brazen daytime assault. Right? A man has been charged after a 10-year-old girl was severely beaten in broad daylight in Montreal's East End. Quebec's directeur des poursuites criminelles et pénales, the DPCP, confirmed 21-year-old Tanveer Singh, like I was saying, is an Elamite. Tanveer Singh has been charged with aggravated assault with a weapon, possession of a weapon, and assault causing bodily harm. The Crown Prosecutor's Office says the suspect is expected to appear in court Wednesday morning for a bail hearing. Montreal Police Constable Raphael Bergeron said the child was walking with a friend on the sidewalk on the Tricentennaire Boulevard outside their school before noon Monday in Pointe-aux-Trembles. They were approached by the men. Hey, Shalom, Officer Adayar. Yahba Hashem Shabrakatah. And he reads, suddenly at one point, the men started to attack the 10-year-old girl, punching her and dragging her a couple of meters, Bergeron said. Some pedestrians and people in the neighborhood that saw the altercation then intervened and stopped it. At the same time, Bergeron said police officer who happened to be patrolling the area saw the attack. They stopped and arrested a 21-year-old man at the scene, he said, right? So now, like I'm saying, this is not a sister that was attacked. This is a Hamite. But that Elamite, with all his hatred he has against us, probably mistook her for an Israelite, right? For a sister in the east side, probably a Haitian sister, right? A Levite. And he decided to beat her up and to drag her a couple of meters. Like it said, at one point, the men started to attack the 10-year-old girl, punching her and dragging her a couple of meters. Right? That's showing you how much these nations hate us. Right? If it was a sister, he would have probably beat her to death. He punched her and he dragged her a couple of meters. A 10-year-old girl that he thought was a sister, most likely. Right? That's showing you how we need to gather together and to protect each other. Show love to each other, be able to protect each other and defend ourselves. Like that, stuff like that would never happen to us. You understand? Let's see what his article says. We're going to, it says a bit further down, we're going to also look at the possibility of a psychological evaluation for the man, Bergeron said. There could be mental health issues that cause the altercation, but that's still not determined. Salakia, but la. That man thought he was assaulting a sister, the daughter of Zion. Right? Whatever psychological evaluation they're gonna do, they're not gonna come up with any results. Right? Heathens hate us. You understand? There's no mental health issues that cause the altercation. He just thought he was assaulting a Levite sister, most likely. You understand? He seen that Hamite girl, he thought she might be an Israelite. And we know how the East Indian hate us already. We know how the Elamite hate us. They despise us. Right? So they could do all the psychological evaluation they want. They're not going to find anything about that. You understand? They hate the chosen people of God. That's why we need to come back together, blacks, Hispanics, Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, to be able to protect each other. We'll be the gates to our people, to keep the people out. You understand? To keep the heathens out from us. That multiculturalism is soon over. With World War III right here, everybody's going to defend their own. Each nation are going to come back to their own nation. This is not a good time to be in an interracial relationship. Brothers, go find you a sister. Marry a sister from the daughters of Zion. Sister, go find you a husband, a black man, Hispanic man, Native American Indian man. We need to come back together to protect each other, right? Otherwise, stuff like that are going to keep happening, and it's not done. This is not an isolated incident. More's to come, right? You understand? More's to come. Let's see what it says in the article. Violence has no place in Montreal. Montreal Mayor Valérie Plante told reporters at a news conference Tuesday that she was troubled by the attack and called it unacceptable. Violence has no place in Montreal, and a child should never be subjected to it, she later wrote on social media. Well, if that was true, that a child should never be subjected to that kind of violence, or even worse, then tell me why did they kill Villanueva in Montreal North? If violence has no place in Montreal. Valérie Plante is a liar. She's a devil that the Bible speaks of, right? Let's keep going. The assault also raised concerns among those who live in the same neighborhood where the young girl was attacked. Right? Let's see what it says in the article. Quebec Liberal leader Dominique Anglade tweeted Tuesday that she was heartbroken by the news and demanded justice for the girl. And you know, since she's not an Israelite, right? She's a Hamite, but most likely she might get justice. If it was one of our Levite sisters or Benjamite sisters, we would have never got justice for it. You understand? No one loves you. No one loves you. No heathen loves you. No heathen nation loves you. They all despise you. You understand? Only the I.S.U.P.K loves you. The real love, the love of God. You understand? Only your own nation could really love you, show you true love, true protection. Brother, stop sleeping with the heathen women. Make you fall after their gods and their culture. Sisters, stop sleeping with a heathen man. Because once you sleep with a man, it's yours for life. You're his for life. You can't take it back and say, I'm not sleeping with East Indians no more. I'm going to go get a black man. No, that's too late, sis. You understand? You need to be careful who you sleep with, who you intermingle with. In these last days, you need to gather with your own people. Just like every nation gathers with their own people. Because they know they have protection with their own people. They have power, protection. They feel safe around their own people. That's what we need to do. Black man, Hispanic man, Native Indians man. Gather together and stick with our own people. right? So we can have protection. You understand? The Lord gave us these laws to be able to protect ourselves. To be able to live, not to die off like dogs. The heathens don't respect us. And you know why they don't respect us? Because we're not showing that we're following the laws, statutes, and commandments that the Lord gave us. It's that simple. If we don't want this to happen to us, have these East Indians come and beat up on our daughters in broad daylight, you need to follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of God. We wouldn't be living in fear of another nation attacking us. We only fear the Lord. You understand? You wouldn't let that happen. We wouldn't ask for justice because this would never happen. You understand? The Lord gave us these laws, only us, because he loves us and he wants us to live and to be protected. As a matter of fact, we're going to get into some scripture and go check that out. So, like, give me 1 second. We're going to start with Psalms chapter 147, verse 19. Right? The Lord gave us the laws to the nation of Israel only to be protected. You understand? To have some protection. He gave us these laws to have life. You understand? So, like, give me one moment. Psalms chapter 147, verse 19. And it reads, he shewed his word unto Jacob. Now you may ask, who is Jacob? Whenever it talks about Jacob or mentions Jacob in the Bible, it means Israel. His name was changed into Israel. He is the forefather of the 12 tribes of the Negroes, the Native American Indians, and the Latinos. That's who Jacob is. Whenever he speaks about Jacob, it speaks about the nation of Israel. And it said, he sheweth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. Right? These words, these statutes, these commandments, these laws that were made for you to be protected were only shown to you, Israel, not to the whole wide world, not to Israel and the nations around. Right? Only you, nation of Israel, black men, Hispanic men, and Native Indian men have these laws so that you can be protected and be able to live. You understand? Not to share these laws with other nations and say, oh, all the nations could be saved if we all follow the law, if we all believe in Jesus Christ, like the Christian says. La. That's only for Israel to be protected. Only Israel. The 12 tribes, right? In verse 20 it reads, he had not dealt so with any nation. Like I just said, only Israel has these laws to be protected. No other nation can be protected by the Lord. You understand? Not the East Indians, not the Moabites, not the Ishmaelites, not the Japhites, name it, regardless, especially not the Edomites. They are the devil the Bible speaks of, right? It says, he had not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. You understand? The Lord didn't intend to protect any other nation. The Lord only intended to protect Israel, his chosen one. the apple of his eye. You understand? His special people. That's who the Lord intended to protect with these laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? He didn't care about any other nation. If the Lord really cared even about one more nation than Israel, he would have gave them the laws. But he didn't. He only felt like choosing Israel. Israel was his chosen one. You understand? And the fact that Israel is the chosen one, I'm going to prove that to you as well. We're going to go into the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha is a collection of books, right, that were removed from the Bible by the Catholic Church. You understand? To further hide the truth from us. We're going to go into 2nd Ezra in the Apocrypha, chapter 6, verse 54. In 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 54, it reads, "After these, Adam also, who thou madest Lord of all creatures, of him come we all." Yes, all nations come from Adam, right? All nations, regardless. But then it reads, "And the people also whom thou hast chosen." The Lord only chose one people, one nation, and that's the nation of Israel. You understand? The nation whom he gave these laws to. The nation he intended to protect. And you know how we could protect each other? By gathering together under these laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? We'll be a force to reckon with, because we'll have the Lord on our side by following the laws, statutes, and commandments and showing love to each other. You understand? That's simple. We can't go against one another. How are we going to go against one another? And when we have some heathens trying to attack our daughters or sons, complain about it, if all we do is kill each other and fight each other? How do you think the other nations are going to respect us? I think the other nations are going to look at us, right? They already despise you. You think they're going to fear you, the nation of the Lord, even if you don't come, especially if you don't come together? You understand? The nations is supposed to fear us because we're the chosen people of the Lord. But they don't fear us. They don't respect us. They don't even like us in the first place. But let's not give them an excuse to harm us, right? We can't protect ourselves because we're separating from each other. And we choose to join these other nations. When we should separate from these other nations and join each other, gather together as the nation not desired, right? And you already know who's the nation not desired. It's the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indian men and women. And you could see how you should be able to see it today in 2022 if you can't see it before, right? The US denied entry to the Haitians and the Mexicans, but have open arms for the Ukrainians. Doesn't that tell you something? Think about it. Let it marinate. Who is the nation not desired? The Native American Indians are looking at Justin Trudeau give hundreds and millions of dollars to Ukrainians in humanitarian aid. right? But they still have no drinking water on their reservations. The Mexicans and some of the Zebulonites, they're watching Ukrainians pass the border through Mexico, but them are being denied entry or are being put in cages at the border, right? The Haitians, when they were trying to cross through Mexico to Texas, they were being whipped by officers on horseback. But then they have to watch Ukrainians come through the border and being accepted with open arms. Now ask yourself, who is the nation not desired? You can't tell me it's the Arabs either. Because look how much Afghani refugees we accepted in Canada, in the US, in Europe, in Britain. Right? These nations know who to help and who not to help. They know who to have pity for and who not to have, and who to not have pity for. You understand? And they don't pity us. They look at us with disgust. They have a perpetual hatred against us because we are the Lord's chosen people, right? They don't know the laws. They don't know love. They can't love. Because according to the Bible, love is to follow the commandments of the Lord. You understand? And how can they follow the commandments if they don't have it? And we already read, who got the commandments? Only the nation of Israel. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. We are to separate from these people and join each other, gather together, not separate from each other and gather with these nations. You understand? They won't even let you in their country. And once you're in the country, you're oppressed. The East Indians, they get stores to run. The Moabites have stores to run. There's a Chinatown everywhere in every city on earth. There's a Chinatown. You understand? We don't have no security. You understand? The Ishmaelites, they get gas stations. Each nation get a piece of the pie. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indian men, we barely get the crumbs. You understand? And when we get them, they make us fight each other over them. So we could be even further divided instead of gathering together. You understand? We need to love each other to be able to gather together. We need to show love to each other, be able to protect ourselves. We need to show love to each other to show these nations we are to be respected. We are to be feared. Right? And we're going to show you what's love right now. We're going to go Slovakia 1 second. We're going to go into 1 John chapter 5 verse 3 in the New Testament. And it reads 1 John chapter 5 verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. You understand? This is how we love each other. This is how you love yourself. You keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, the Lord God, the God of Israel, right? And by loving yourself, by keeping the commandments, you're able to love a fellow brother or sister, another Israelite. And this is how we come together. This is how we protect ourselves. This is how we are respected. Not by joining these other nations. Because if you join these other nations, you end up doing what these other nations do, which is not follow the law, right? These other nations can't follow the law because they don't know the law. You understand? In Salakia, Officer Ariyar said in Isaiah 13 and 14, and it shall be as the chaste one, Salakia, as a chaste roe, and as a sheep that no man take it up, they shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. You understand? Right, Ottawa. And this is happening right now. World War III is going to make every man turn to his own people, to each his own. Right, so let me close the articles. Like Officer Ariyar pointed out in Isaiah 13 and 14, right? They shall every man turn to his own people. It's going to be to each his own, right? The white man is going to be defending the white man. The Arabs are going to be with the Arabs. The East Indians are going to go with the East Indians. The Chinese with the Chinese. Being in an interracial relationship right now is not a good thing at all. You got to stick to your own. This is the only way you're gonna be able to find love and to protect each other. Because like I said, when you join these other nations and separate from each other, you end up doing what these other nations do, which is not following God, right? Because they don't have the laws of God. So how can they have the love of God if they don't have the laws? Only the nation of Israel have the laws. You understand? Come into the UPK if you don't know the laws. We'll teach you. Come into the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. We'll teach you how to love yourself and how to love each other, how to be able to protect each other, right? You need to understand, Christ is coming back sooner than you think. And he gave us an order to gather together as a nation not desired. Yeah, you might say, oh, I see the East Indians are struggling, some Chinese are struggling, some Koreans are struggling, some Ishmaelites are struggling, but they're not the nation not desired. They're not being denied entry when they're fleeing their country. You understand? We're seen as illegal immigrants. Ukrainians are seen as refugees. Right? Or you might say, well, it's a war out there. Well, there's a war being waged on blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans for more than 500 years. You understand? A war is a war, but listen, there's no other war that was worse than the one waged on blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. Up to this day, natives don't even have access to clean water, even though they should be able to. Like Canada is a rich country, right? You know what the Catholic Church said about that? About the Native American Indians not having clean water and them not providing it? They said it's too expensive. They don't have enough money. You understand? But then again, Justin Trudeau is able to send millions of dollars, right? And some millions of some millions of weapons to Ukraine. But then again, denies the Native Indians' basic needs of clean water on their reservation. That's how I know the white man is a beast. He's the devil the Bible speaks of. So like, yeah, I want. Also, IR said, just like that Asian that was killed and eaten by the devil over here, right? You understand? The white man is a beast. He's a vile beast. He's a monster. You understand? How can you be able to join a monster that despises you, have perpetual hatred against you, right? Some people are gonna be like, well, it's 2022. We need to change. We need to be able to accept each other. La. From the time that Martin Luther King was working on integration, right? He even said it himself. I'm leading my people into a burning house. Integration was one of the worst things that happened to Black people, because you were separating from each other and joining the enemies. If we join our enemies, how can we be able to protect each other when the enemy attacks? Right? Right, Officer Adayar. He said Canada is known all over the world for having pure water, though. You understand? Canada is known all over the world for having pure water. But I guess not on the reservations. I guess Canadians keep that good water to themselves. Right? You see multiple pages of Salakia on social media, multiple posts about our native Indian brothers, the Gadites, saying, let's pray for Ukraine, let's pray for Ukraine. Right? You want to pray for a beast, for your enemy, when the enemy doesn't care if you have water on your reservation. You don't care if you have clean water on your reservation. You understand? And we're supposed to have the purest water around the world. Right? But I guess Justin Trudeau trying to keep it to himself. He's not trying to. He doesn't care about the natives being thirsty, about the natives being able to take a shower in clean water, be able to drink clean water. You understand? The white man is a devil. He's a vile beast. So we need to separate ourselves from them, from any other nation, and gather together, nation of Israel, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indian men. Only you gets to see salvation. Only you gets to be saved when Christ comes back. Don't pray for the Ukrainians. God don't care about them. Jesus, Yahawashi, doesn't care about the Ukrainians, about the Russians, about the Australians, about the Ishmaelites, about your Chinese friend, about the Hamites. God only cares about you, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indian men. Jesus only comes for you. You understand? And I'll show that in the scripture as well. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go for Matthew chapter 1, verse 21, the New Testament. Salakia. Right? Separate yourself from these other nations. Stop praying for them. You understand? God doesn't care about these other nations. He only care about Israel and Israel only. And he sent Yahushai to come back to save Israel only, his people. He was known as the King of the Jews. So who are his people? Right? That would be the Jews, the real Jews, not the white Jewish man you see over there in the Middle East, in Israel right now, in our land. Those are Amalekites. Those are Khazars. Right? They stole our culture. You understand? So now we're going to read in Matthew 1, verse 21, who Christ is coming back for. Matthew chapter 1, verse 21. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. It explicitly says he shall save his people, right? Not his people in the nations around, not his people in the neighboring nations. You understand? He shall save his people. Who are his people? The other Jews, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indian men and women, the real Jews that the Bible speaks of. You understand? Yahushua shall come to save his people, not the whole white world, not the Ukrainians you pray for, not the Afghanis you prayed for. You understand? He shall save his people, the nation that is not desired on the earth, the nation with no protection, with no army. You understand? And if you don't believe me that the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indian men, the nation of Israel is the people that's coming to be saved, I'll show it to you in another scripture. We're gonna go into Salakia, Matthew chapter 15, verse 24. Salakia, that we're gonna start with Matthew chapter 10, verse 5. Actually, you understand? He's not coming back for everyone. He told us to gather together so that we'll be ready when he comes back. They told us to separate from these other nations so that we'll be ready when he comes back. You understand? We're going to read Matthew chapter 10, verse 5. These 12 Yahushai sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. You understand? Verse 6, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Go not, he said to the 12 disciples, go not into the way of the Gentiles. Right? So Gentile can mean two things. It can mean an Israelite following the culture of another nation. You understand? Or it could just mean another nation that is not Israel. And Yahushua said, go not into the way of the Gentiles. Do not follow these other nations. Right? Then he said, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You understand? Yahushua commanded the 12 disciples to go after the lost sheep of the tribe of Israel. He didn't say go after the Ishmaelites. He didn't say go help them Hamites. He said go after the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right? Verse 7, it reads, "And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand." And that's exactly what the ISUPK has been doing since 1969. Going after the lost sheep of the house of Israel, telling them the kingdom is at hand. The white man's kingdom is falling. It is over with. Multiculturalism is over with. Separate yourselves from these other nations because this is all over with. Interracial relationship, this is over with. The kingdom of Christ is at hand. The nation of Israel will rule the earth sooner than you think. Christ is coming back sooner than you think. With all these prophecies happening right now, you should be able to see it by now. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. We need to gather in one body, and that one body is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under commanding General YAHANNA. You understand? This is where blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians gather as one people, and they love each other, and they protect each other. They watch out for each other. They teach each other. They correct each other. And when they say they love each other, they follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. If we have a brother with a drug problem, we'll help him get off drugs. You understand? So brother or sister needs counsel, we'll counsel them. If brother or sister needs correction, we'll correct them in the proper way, in the proper manner. We know how to behave around each other. We know how to act around each other. We know how to act towards each other. You understand? We really actually love each other. And that's why we're able to protect each other. You understand? We're going to go into Matthew chapter 15, verse 24. Again, I'm going to show you who Christ died for. Right?
Hey, Shalom, appreciate Hashem Shabbat.
Hey, Shalom, Marwan Yahba Hashem Shabbat.
Salak, I just wanted to add something because what you're saying is powerful, right?
Go ahead,
like, our people don't know the
Salak, when you're breaking up.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
So they don't know the extent of what we're doing in the I.S.U.P.K. And that because of the lies of the Christian preachers, they think you understand that we all should join together. Everyone should join together as one people, right. which is a lie. And even in the New Testament, it tells us that. So, like, Babu Kwasha, can you go to 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16, Babu Kwasha?
What kind? 1 second.
I won't stay too long, priest. All right.
So give me 1 second, other one.
No sweat. You understand? Like, why you finding and trying to find it? But we gotta understand that. You understand? Like, the Bible is not for, just like Officer Barakiala has been saying. You understand? The Bible is not for everybody, man. The Bible is for you, Israel, for you so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Indian. You are the Israelite. You are the chosen people of God. You understand? God chose you back in the day, and you are the same people that God's gonna elevate. God's going to save. You understand? In this last day, He's not about to save everybody, but He's gonna save you out of your poverty, you out of your misery, you out of the situation of this life that you are in right now. That's what God is gonna do. That's what God is gonna send Christ another right. time for, man. You understand? You got it, priest?
2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 15.
16. You could go verse 16.
Salakia, verse 16. In what agreement had the temple of God with idols?
Understand? And then what the agreement as the temple of God with idols? You understand? We are the temple of God. We are the chosen people of God, man. Just like you say, your body is the temple of God. As a people, we are the temple of God. We don't have no temple, you understand? We're worshiping God in right now. But we do it, you understand, as the people. We do it in the I.S.U.P.K. We worship God, you understand?
Right.
You learning how to God in these classes. You understand how to serve God in these classes, man. Go ahead.
For ye are the temple of the living God.
Exactly. We are the temple of the living God. So what accord do we have with you know, between us and these other nations, man? And when you go on to verse 16, 15, it's gonna talk about Israel. It's gonna talk about how God chose Israel, man. Why would Paul say these things if Paul was talking to everybody? Why would Paul, you understand, repeat what the prophet says in the Old Testament and the prophets were only about Israel? Why would Paul
Right.
the same words if it was about everybody on earth? That doesn't make sense. You understand? That's because your Christian church, your Christian preacher is a liar. Blame your Christian preacher because you don't know the Bible. Go ahead, priest.
Khan. As God had said, I dwell in them.
I dwell in them. God dwell where? In them. Who's the them? Israel. You so-called black, Hispanics, and Native Indian. God dwell in the I.S.U.P.K. But you understand? These words are for you, man. You understand? And that's why we're calling you back for God to dwell in us as a people, not just in the school, not just in every school that we're in, but as a people together. That's how we're gonna rule this. Man. You understand? Go ahead, priest.
And walk in them.
Go ahead.
Salakia. And I will be their God, and they shall be my people.
Come on, go ahead. Again, I shall be their God, and they should be my people, man. Go ahead.
Verse 17. Wherefore come out from among them.
Come out from among them. Now, verse 16 say, you understand, I shall be their God, and they shall be my people. That's possession, man. That's possessive. You understand? So that's God saying, well, you know what? These people are gonna be my people once again. God punished us, but now he's taking us back, man. You understand? Through the sacrifice of Christ, through the blood of Christ. You understand?
Right.
And repenting from our old ways, from our sinful life that we were living, man. You understand? God says what? Repeat that part again, Babu Kwasha.
Wherefore come out from among them.
Come out from among them, man. Who's the them now? The them is the other nation, man. The them is the philosophy of these other nation, man. The them is the white man, is the Arab man, is the African. You understand? Is the Chinese. You understand?
Right.
Is those Elamites. That's who the them are. You understand? That's who the them is in that verse, man. Come out from among them. You don't know your Bible, the New Testament, because your pastor's been lying to you, man. And your pastor, I'm pretty sure he doesn't know the Bible neither. You understand? That's why you don't know what Paul is doing, what Paul is talking about, man. Come out from among them, man. Go ahead.
And be ye separate.
Separate, man. You understand? Like officers Barakiala just said, you understand? Every nation is gonna join their own people, man. Well, you know what you want to do outside of the truth? You want to be joined with them. Meanwhile, they're joining their own people. Why? Because you don't have an identity, knowledge of who you are, knowledge of your real identity, man. That's why you want to join all these other nations. Meanwhile, they're getting ready to focus on themselves. Why you want to focus on them? Why you think about them? Why you want to be like, well, let's love them. They want to love their own self. Now, it's about time you love your own. It's about time you realize who you are. It's about time we build this nation, man. It's about time we build this kingdom and get ready to rule the world. So, like a priest, that's all I wanted to say.
No swag one. That was real heavy, right? Because like I've been saying, it's gonna be to each his own, right? And the Lord said, be ye separate and to come out from them, right? He wants us to separate from all these other nations, all these other philosophies, religions, and beliefs, right? Like the Kemetic religion, the astrology, the Greek philosophies, all that stuff. We need to separate from it. We need to come back to our culture, right? We need to come back to this book called the Bible. You understand? We need to learn Hebrew again. You understand?
So like a priest, I'm gonna let you keep on going, all right?
Kawa, no sweat out of one. Tawada.
I ain't keep on going. Amazing work you're doing, priest.
Tawada out of one. Right, and like we just read. Yahba Hashem Shabrakatha. Right, and like we just read with Officer Adiyar, we need to separate from these other nations. You understand? These last days, each going to be joining his own nation. And while they do that, we still want to join every single other nation that's on the earth. Because like Officer Adiyar said, we don't have an identity. We don't know who to gather with. When the I.S.U.P.K, we know who to gather with. We know the truth. We know who are the Jews the Bible speaks of. We know who is the nation of Israel. We know who are the 12 tribes. We know we need to gather together. The nation, we know who the nation not desire is. The blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. The true children of God. This is who Christ died for, who he's coming back for. You understand? Like Officer Adiyar said again, your preacher doesn't know the Bible, your pastor doesn't know the Bible, because he would tell you not to join these other nations. He would tell you to separate from these other nations. He would tell you Christ didn't die for everybody. He's not coming back to save everybody. Like I was about to show you, we're in Matthew chapter 15, verse 24. This is Christ speaking, right? Yahweh in Hebrew. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's Yahweh speaking, saying he's not sent, he's not coming back, but only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? He didn't mention Ukraine. He didn't mention Afghanistan. He didn't mention Sri Lanka. He didn't mention North Korea, South Korea. He didn't say that Hawaii, the Aborigines. He didn't mention the Africans, the Hamites, he said. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He's coming back for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He's coming back for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indian people only. Because that's the people that God chose, that God loves. That's the people who were given the commandments to protect themselves and to be able to love each other. You understand? You're gonna join these nations, you're gonna be oppressed among these nations. You're never gonna be equal to them. In the first place, you're not even equal to them in the first place. You're supposed to be above them. You understand? And if you don't believe that, I'm going to show that to you right now in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. We're supposed to be above all nations. Right? Actually, we're going to go in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6 first. We're supposed to be above all nations. You understand? We're not supposed to be equal to one another. And you're definitely not going to be equal to them by joining them. You understand? We're in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Now, what does it mean to be holy? It means to be separate. And we just read in 2 Corinthians, the Lord our God said we need to be separate from these other nations. We need to be holy. We are a holy people. We are a people with the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord God, the Lord. His name is Yahweh in Hebrew. We are separate from these other nations. We have the laws. We have the commandments. You understand? They don't. We do. And we need to get back to them to be able to live and to protect ourselves and to love each other, right? Then it reads, the Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself. You understand? We are a special people. We are the salt of the earth, the spice. You understand? We're not like these other nations. We can never be equal. We are special. Black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. We're a special people unto the Lord our God, right? And it reads, Salakia, the Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. You can never be equal, regardless of how you want it to be. You can never be equal. You're supposed to be above all people upon the face of the earth, nation of Israel. That's why you need to understand that the dream that Martin Luther King had, Martin Luther Kuhn, right, was a nightmare. The dream that Martin Luther Kuhn had was a nightmare, to be equal to the white people. We're supposed to be above them. Why would you stoop down and be equal to them, right? The Lord our God and the God of the nation of Israel said that the nation of Israel is to be a special people, a holy people, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. But now you want to join these other nations and be equal to them? The only way you can be equal to these other nations is by sinning, because that's what these nations do. They don't follow the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord our God, because they don't have them, right? That's what makes us be above all people, be a special people, a separate people. We have the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. And if we have them, we should follow them. Because these nations, they know that only us have the laws. That's why they don't respect us, because since we have the laws of God, how come we don't follow them? That's how they're able to harm us, to prostitute our daughters and sisters, to kidnap our daughters and sisters, to murder our brothers. We don't have protection because we don't follow the laws. And these nations, they know that. We're vulnerable. You understand? We need to come back together, nation of Israel, and show them we're a force to reckon with. You understand? We're going to go in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. We'll show you how to be above all people. Right? And it reads Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. You understand? This is an instruction that was given unto us on how to be a holy people, how to be above all nations on the earth. We have to hearken. That means to listen. You understand? To hearken diligently, to listen and pay attention, to observe all of the commandments that the Lord gave us. You understand? We cannot be like Christians and say, yeah, I won't eat pork, but I'm gonna eat shrimp. You understand? Or I won't eat pork, shrimp, crabs, and lobster, but I'm gonna still smoke my weed. We need to observe all of the commandments. You understand? And one of these commandments is to love each other, right? That's an instruction that was given unto us. And we already showed that love, the love of God, is to follow the commandments. You understand? We need to love each other to be able to protect each other, right? You cannot be like Christians, say, yeah, oh, I love God, I love Jesus, but I hate the next man that looks like me. I hate the next Israelite. I hate a Mexican. I hate a Haitian. That's not following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. You're never going to be able to be above all people like that. You need to love your brother and sister, right? Show them compassion. Correct them when they're wrong. Protect them when they're weak. You understand? And with that, Salakia, we're going to go into, give me 1 second. Going into Matthew chapter 18, verse 21 and 22. We need to be able to forgive each other, right? We can't hold a grudge against our brother and sister. That's destroying each other. You understand? Salakia. We need to show compassion to each other. That's what Christ told Peter. You understand? He told him to show compassion to his brother. Be able to forgive them. You're going to see that right now. Matthew chapter 18, verse 21. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 7 times? And Peter asked Yahushua, how often do I have to forgive a brother that trespass against me? 7 times? Right? Verse 22. Yahushua said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. And Yahushua told Peter, La, you don't only forgive your brother 7 times. Show compassion all the time. Right? Because if we hold a grudge against each other, how are we going to be able to protect the nation? You understand? We need to be able to show compassion to each other all the time. Show that we love each other. Right? If I see you sin, I'm going to tell you not to sin. I'm going to tell you this is a sin. You're wrong. And I'm not judging you. I'm not just giving you my opinion. I'm showing you love. I'm telling you you're wrong. You need to change. You understand? You need to die and come back to life, to these laws, statutes, and commandments. That's what I'm telling you to do. I'm trying to save your life. I couldn't care less if I see a white man smoke a cigarette. Let him smoke his cigarette, die of cancer if needs be. Like, that doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me is another fellow Israelite, right, trying to die smoking that cigarette. You understand? We have to save each other. You have to show love to each other, and showing love is to follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. If you don't know them, we're going to teach you them. Just come into the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. We've been doing that work since 1969, right? Under the commanding General YAHANNA. You understand? Stop doing these drugs. Stop killing yourself, black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man, and women. Don't hold a grudge against your brother and sisters. Forgive each other all the time. Be compassionate towards each other. It is a sin to hate one another. You understand? And I'm going to show that to you. So like, we're going to go into 1 John chapter 4, verse 20. You cannot hate one another. That's a sin. What is a sin? The sin is a transgression of the law. It's not obeying the law. It's going against it. And hating one another is going against the law, statutes, and commandments that the Lord gave us. I'm going to show that to you right now in 1 John chapter 1, 1 John chapter 4, verse 20. If a man say, I love God, and hated his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother, whom he had seen, how can he love God whom he had not seen? You understand? Be like the Christians saying you love God and Jesus, but you hate your brother and sister, and next Israelite, you're a liar. And being a liar is a sin, right? But that's not all. Verse 21, and this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God, love his brother also. You understand? This is a commandment. This is an order, an instruction that God gave us to be able to live righteously, to be holy, a separate people, right? It reads, and this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God, love his brother also. If you really love God, you love your brother. You love your sister. You understand? You don't hate each other. You're compassionate for one another. You show compassion. You understand? You already read that the love is to follow the commandments of God, right? And one of these commandments is to love your brother. Don't stay angry at your brother. Don't hold a grudge. Be compassionate towards one another. Protect one another. Uplift one another. You understand? That's how you earn the respect of the other nations. That's how you have the fear of the other nations. I mean, like, these other nations are going to fear you, nation of Israel. Because you see that you stand together in one body, with one spirit, one mind. That you all follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. That only you, nation of Israel, have. No other nation got these laws, statutes, and commandments. That's why they know since you have them, you should follow them. And since you don't follow them, they see you as vulnerable. They see you as weak. Show them how strong you are by gathering together, following the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. You understand? And if you wonder where to gather to, come into the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General YAHANNA, right? You understand? Hey, shalom, sis. Yahweh Shamal, Ataba Hashem Yahweh Shai. Coming to the I.S.U.P.K, this is where we gathered together as one people in one body. And we all follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. You understand? We're all going back to our culture. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. We protect each other in the UPK. We love each other. We have compassion for one another. You understand? We're not cowards. We will defend each other. Their brother needs help, we'll give them that help. We'll give them a hand. You understand? There's no weaklings in the UPK. Only strong brothers and sisters, right? You need to understand that to gather together, O nation not desired. Don't wait till it's too late. I.S.U.P.K been there since 1969, trying to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. We're looking for you. We're out there. Don't be waiting till it's time to look for us and you can't find us in these streets anymore. You understand? There might be a time where you look for us and we're on the chariots already. You understand? So come back together now, nation of Israel. It's time to come back home. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians separate from these nations. They don't love you regardless. You're supposed to be above all of them. Don't pray for the Ukrainians. God doesn't even love the white man. And so, like, this is going to be one of the last scriptures I'm going to pull that to show you shouldn't pray for the Ukrainians. Not only do they despise you, but God doesn't love them. They're Edomites, sons of Edom, or Esau. And we're going to go into Romans chapter 9, verse 13, one of my favorite scriptures. We're in Romans chapter 9, verse 13. It reads, "As it is written, Jacob have I loved." And we already read who Jacob is. This is the forefather of the nation of Israel. And whenever he speaks about Jacob, it speaks about the nation of Israel, right? The blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. And God said, Jacob have I loved. He loves us. Each blacks and Native and Hispanic man and woman, he loves us. God has love for you, right? As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Esau is the forefather. Esau is also named Edom, which come with you. That's where you get the name Edomite from, right? It is the forefather of the Caucasian race. The Canadians, the Americans, the Australians, the Ukrainians, the British, French, whatever. Don't pray for them. Your prayers are going nowhere. Pray for your own people. Pray for our salvation, right? Pray that all the nation of Israel is being able to come back together. Pray that all Native American Indians, all Hispanics, all Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, come back together before it's too late, right? Don't pray for the Ukrainians. They're laughing at you. Look, they're laughing at you right now because they're able to enter the US to the border of Mexico, while you Mexicans are in cages right now. While you Haitians are being denied entry at the border as well. They're laughing at you. They're laughing at the natives not being able to get clean water on the reservations, while Justin Trudeau sends them millions of dollars. You understand? Don't love these other nations. We read in 2 Corinthians that God told us to separate from these other nations and to come back together before Christ comes back. You understand? Because Christ is not coming He's not coming to bring peace. He's coming to bring a sword to this world. And you don't hug people with a sword. You don't kiss and hug with a sword. You understand? You bring killing with a sword. That's what Christ is coming back to do. He's coming to save us. The lost sheep of the nation of Israel with a sword. You understand? World War III is here. A thermonuclear war is coming. You don't want to get caught up in that. Just separate from these nations and gather together. With that said, I'm going to end the Brotherhood class right now. Let's clap it up. Gonna get the security announcement and the sign out links. Give me a moment. Security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, Salakia. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 and 21. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10, means tenth in the Hebrew, Mahaishara, which is 10% of every penny or of any increase the Lord gives you. Give the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Oops, Salakia, one moment. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocation. We have the Passover coming up, right? Friday, April 15th. Gather together, contact your camp leader for more information, right? Remind the Akim and Akwatian to check the bulletin board in their schools. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, and headscarf. Understand? With that said, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers and a courtesy salute to the sisters. So men of Israel, Amijam, which means to stand. Amijam Shabbat. Amijam Barak. Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai Brakatham. Yajam Matab, which means hands down. Gonna give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Turns toward the sisters if you're in their presence. Men of Israel, Amajam Shabbat, Amajam Barak, Yahweh Shemal Alathan Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. With that said, I conclude the Brotherhood class for tonight. Clap it up. Just bear with me a moment. I'm going to post the sign out links in a few seconds. All right. Shalom, Israel.
Yay-Z, you know the trouble. I.S.U.P.K. Badness no sir. Let me tell you how the badness steer. Dopey bad fly when the Glock display. Tell a boy say no try box this face. Back switch face. You know how your blood clot casket stay boy. You must see one back this prayer. When the map stick raise that tick straight. Shot misplaced. The key them in your head stop misbehaved. Crack his face. The key never tell us so we lock this place. Which locksmith anyway watch this place. War with them bunny like plastic plate. Hey, we don't play around. When you see the UPK around, we bring the fucking AK around. AR-15s and AR rounds. We don't play around. When you see the UPK around, we bring the fucking AK around. AR-15s and AR rounds. We no take drape up. We no take bait up, we no stay so. And when the next day come, we no change up. My heart them bad as them wake up. Take care bus boy head top shake up. So tell a pussy well don't violate us. No care where you status, where you take up. Every man a killer till miss a dead face you straight up. Great stuff, one Westling bigger than NATO. Man we bust it to NATO. Only man we afraid that are the creator, the maker. Hey, we don't play around. When you see the UPK around, we bring the fucking AK around. AR-15s and AR rounds. We don't play around. When you see the UPK around, we bring the fucking AK around. AR-15 and AR rounds. AR-15s and AR rounds. AR-15s and let me tell you how the badness steer. Dopey bad fly when the Glock display. Tell a boy say no try box this face. Back switch face. You know how your blood clot casket stay boy. You must see one Baptist prayer. When the map stick raise that lick straight. Shot misplaced. The teeth them in your head stop misbehave. Crack his face. The key never tell us so we lock this place. Which locksmith anyway watch this space. War with them bunny like plastic plate. We don't play around. When you see the UPK around, we bring the fucking AK around. AR-15s and AR rounds. Baby, no listen to no fake news, them can't. Put the wallet out and them never fake news. Notice I just be a bad bitch I get forward from with you. But the one you have to be good girl them. She never did a features, I rate it. Never did a features, half naked. Me never did a piggy or be things halfway, that's why me give her ratings. She never did a features, half naked. Never did a features, I rate it. Me never did a piggy or be things halfway, that's why me give her ratings. And every girl a white material. And every girl forget the juice in my seed bag. And every girl me trust to cook my food, nor boil my tea, not tea, but put the milk in the cereal. Me like a catty when me medieval. When no fi wash for cook fi clean and no fuss. When she hear me get a new girl, I know that me mean when me say me fight me demon. Multiple wife legally, no illegal. Yeah, straight, me go crazy. And not every catty can be my first lady. And not every press plus body don't pay fi plus Tatiana no fit in and no Mercedes. When me say oh luxury dolly fi nurse baby, a trouble when luxury dolly turn no lady. So big up every girl we don't lazy. Your body big but your mommy donate it. I rate it. Never did a fi dress half naked. Me never did a fi give her be things halfway, that's why me give her ratings. She never did a fi dress half naked. Never did a fi dress I rate it. Me never did a piggy or be things halfway, that's why me give her ratings. She now wait pan money for reach her and donation. She make reach her man donation. I'm run job and run, but the waist gal tell her fi leave her man, but she stay strong. She know say them are no friends, them are haters. Them sleep with every man in the acre. Can't get nobody fi stay long and want the advice for relation. Baby, no listen to no fake news. Them can't keep a man cause them never stay true. Could do all it out and them never pay dues. Never shut them out and them wicked and cruel, eh? Bag a man a rush but them just a get yours. Everything them have them did a fear blows. Instagram live them mute for the views. Baby that I know you though. Sure, I rate it. Never did a pictures half naked. Me never did a piggy or be things halfway, that's why me give her ratings. She never did a features half naked. Never did a features I rated. Me never did a picky or things halfway. That's why me give her ratings. One wish.